Hello, welcome to episode 12 of Fables from the Pickled Quipper, where last we left off, Eska and Silverius were atop the now cleared Buffin's Tor, looking out to the woods, where they saw what appeared to be a very large dragon head, which maybe smiled and then disappeared into the woods with barely a sound. Let's see what happens next.
So, where we left off then, we had Eska and Silverius on top of the shrine. You had seen something that looked distinctly like a dragon's head staring back at you from the woods, gave you the slightest nod, and withdrew back into the woods. We can pick up there.
Eska's just staring.
Without looking, he's staring at the woods, speaking to Eska.
I think we found our dragon Bardo was detecting. Now brings the interesting question, how to proceed. Surely, if it wanted us dead, we would be.
Eska looks like she's trying, I think, to say something, but it's just not working. Would it be possible to estimate size? Like,
Yeah, it was
in
really
terms
big.
of age?
Yeah, you can each make a nature or history check, both with advantage.
I got a 20.
And a 20.
All right, consistency. I like it. Based on what you know of dragons, and each of you know different things differently, that was obviously not a wormling, not a young dragon. Difficult to say whether it would be adult or ancient. Probably still hundreds of years old. But you know you are dealing with a very old dragon.
Yeah, I guess Silvarius just asks Eska.
What can you see? Your eyes are better suited to this than mine.
I'm guessing I can't see anything there. Is it sort of any traces of it?
No. If you didn't have each other there, you'd probably be talking yourselves out of the fact that you saw it.
Eska's not really answering still. You can kind of see she's got her hands are just clenched, and like you actually see just a little sort of trickle of blood from where her hand is clenched tight.
Oh boy. Silvarius is going to, after standing there and staring for 30 seconds, a guttural growl. And he's going to rappel down the side of the structure and step out halfway in between the distance from the structure to the woods. Speak out in Draconic.
Are you there?
There's a long pause. Nothing.
Just gonna look back at the building and look back at the woods. Move to the tree line and cast light on his sword with it drawn and see if he sees anything.
Make a perception.
15.
You have this sort of aura around you as the light sheds out from the sword. Pushes through, casting strange shadows from the trees around you. You stare into the woods, looking high, looking low, listening for the smallest sound, a crack of a branch or something, but you spend a good couple of minutes just looking. Nothing.
He's gonna back away from the woods, keeping his gaze at the woods as he's stepping back, still trying to take in exactly what was going on.
Eska, you still just kind of staring?
I guess actually sort of noticing Silverius' return, she probably snaps out of it slightly and makes her way over to the side of the building, rappels down, and just says, "Perhaps we should finish the night inside.
Perhaps. Perhaps not.
I guess Esker's just gonna bang on the stone door.
Let's have the three of you make perception with disadvantage because you're snoozing. Eska, make a strength check.
That would be a 6 for Claire.
A 10.
8.
12.
Takes a couple of goes, but eventually bar door stirs.
We'll go over to the door with axe in hand.
You notice that Claire and Cassette are both out of it completely.
There is a little bit of drool coming out of Claire's mouth.
Ask who goes.
It's me.
You want in?
Please.
Pop the pin. Push the door open.
And I just turn to Silverius, kind of eyes down, and just say, "I'm sorry." And heads in, kind of turns and heads in, and hunkers down in the corner.
And so far, he just kept staring at her, but he's actually standing 10 foot out from the building, and he keeps on just staring off towards the woods.
Can I tell that something weird has happened potentially?
Make an insight check.
5.
You've not had a lot of dealings with Dragonborn. Eska's always been a little bit weird and flaky anyway. You find Silverius kind of hard to read.
Well, I guess I won't even look at Eska, and I'll just look at Silvarius and be like, "You want in?"
As Silvarius is standing there, staring away from the door.
I think I'll stay.
All right. You need anything?
Not yet, but keep an ear open.
Okay. Well, scream if you need something. And I shut the door and pin it back.
I love it.
And I'll
That's
go
so
back to my
popular.
corner.
Eska, you doing anything in your corner?
I'm huddling and 1,000-yard staring into the fire. If the fire's still there, even if the fire's not lit anymore, I'm staring at it.
After it was initially extinguished by Silverius, it was relit by the flame skull. And I don't believe you've put it out since.
Okay, yeah, I'm just staring at that. Sat on the floor, back against the wall, hood up.
And Silverius, what are you up to?
He's going to remain outside, fixated on the direction that the dragon that he saw was, just out of... I mean, he's just fixated on it right now just because of it entirely. Probably patrolling around the building too, quietly, real slow.
Mm-hmm. Sword out and lit or not?
He's going to keep the light spell on it, but he's going to keep it sheathed as he's walking around, and he's mostly, because his vision sucks at night, but he's using his audible sensor. Like, he wants to try to hear and listen as good as he can right now.
Go ahead and give me a perception check for the next couple of hours.
Say 7.
Nothing catches your attention as you do your little rounds. Give me one more.
15.
Dawn is probably still a little ways off. You can see a little bit of, just the faintest little bit of light starting to creep up in the sky. You don't see anything else. You do hear something out in the woods. Hard to discern what exactly. Sounds like maybe some sort of conflict. Not like way into the woods, but certainly more than, say, 20 feet, probably. At least 50 feet, if not 100 feet back into the woods.
Any notable sound with that, or just like more of a scuffling, or is it?
There's certainly some loud scuffling noises that are carrying because there's just not a lot of sound out there right now. And you also think maybe there's some sort of screech.
Okay. And is it the direction that the dragon was initially, or somewhere else?
It's kind of hard to judge. Right now, it's somewhere into the woods.
Oh, right. Silvarius shield up, and he's going to start slowly marching towards it. to get a better idea of what's going on, keeping a good distance, though, to spot what it might be.
Okay. Make a stealth check for me.
Natural 1. Started so strong.
So you start creeping through the forest, and you stumble upon. There appears to be a path that's going through the woods here. On that path, you see what look like 3 huge elk being attacked by a group of undead. A couple of zombies, a couple of skeletons, and what looks like some sort of weird. Make a religion check for this one.
Me too.
22. Okay. Yeah. So you you kind of lean over to get a better look. As you do, you place your foot confidently down and crack a log firmly in half, garnering the attention of the closest zombie. But what you see is a skeletal minotaur, and it looks like it may also have noticed you now. The rest of the undead and the elk are sort of locked in combat. Furthest from you, you have a skeleton slashing at one of the elk. There is one skeleton with a bow currently shooting another elk that looks like it's about to charge a zombie. There's 2 zombies engaged with an elk, and then this minotaur creature is slowly lumbering up with, well, it looked like it was going towards the elk, but when it saw you, it looks like it may have decided to change direction. What would you like to do in the moment right now?
Having fully recognized what's going on and observing the situation, we're going to make like the better man and run back to the building.
Okay. I mean, yeah, just roll a d20. 18. You are able to scoot off. You're obviously listening as you go. You do not hear any sounds of pursuit, though you do hear the combat continue behind you. Okay, so you make it back in about at full sprint. I don't know, 15, maybe 20 seconds to run through the woods and make it back to the edge here where you're outside the tour.
He's going to run up to the door with his back to it, kind of like thud it a couple times while he's looking out.
Give me strength with advantage. Adrenaline is coursing quite severely. Everyone inside, please give me standard perception check.
11.
Yeah, they all hear you immediately.
Ironically, I was the one that was awake, and I heard at least.
Well, you're furthest away, and you're not all there right now, I don't think.
That's true.
So you hear this banging on the door.
Well, I jump up and run to the door because I'm going to assume that it's our giant.
You didn't hear any?
friend.
Did you hear any screaming? If you didn't hear screaming, there's no need to answer the door.
I suppose that's true. Anyhow, I will go to the door, and I'll just be like, "Oi!"
You hear on the outside is
I think we found what we are looking for. Undead in the woods.
Well, I'm gonna scurry back to my spot and grab all my war gear.
Everyone else gearing up?
Yeah, same.
And I'm gonna push my way out.
He's going to kind of like briefly report sort of what he saw.
And just a group of undead. Particular of note. An undead minotaur. Felt unwise to attempt that on my own.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I'll have my bow ready and, looking to see if anything's coming, but, wait for everybody else to be ready.
Is everyone else getting ready?
I sort of will get up last, and I'm gonna sort of tail the group.
It does take Claire a few minutes to get up. She just kind of looks around really confused. And then just sees everyone else leaving and kind of sleepily grabs her stuff and kind of stumbles out of the door. Still not quite sure what's going on, but she knows everyone else is leaving. So she doesn't want to be alone.
The tired kid. Oh.
Okay.
5 more minutes, Mom.
So, heading into the woods.
I'm gonna cast Zephyr Strike.
Okay. I guess at this point, the only thing that's left to do is roll initiative.
7.
11. Gas station.
Nope, not that one either.
Yeah, right.
14.
14 for Claire, too.
15.
So, Eska, you are first.
Ah, interesting. What can I see from where I am?
What can you see?
All
from
I
where you
really
are?
know is, I mean, we got a vague description from Silverius
Yeah.
when we sort of charged over here.
So, in front of you, light is still dim, by the way. Those without dark vision would be at disadvantage if they're using ranged attacks. Melee, you would still be fine. Regular, because it's right there in front of you. I'll give you a regular there. But yeah, obviously you do have dark vision, which is 60 feet. So you can see some of this clearly, but not everything. So you can see elk on one side and zombies on the other side. The numbers don't seem to have changed an awful lot, although actually there are now a couple more skeletons with bows that have come up from behind over here.
That we probably don't know about.
You can vaguely see them because it's just dim light at this point.
If I get within 60 foot, I can see them as normal, right?
Yes, you would be able to see it as normal.
Okay. Well, I guess not knowing what's going on, I see there's a large sort of tree stump in front of me. To the just sort of in front and to the right of me.
It's about 3 feet. I mean, you could crouch behind it maybe to obscure line of sight.
Okay. So I'm going to use Expeditious Retreat.
Okay.
And use my bonus action to run behind here. And then I will sort of hunker down behind it, sort of unsure of what's really going on. Attempt to hide.
Okay, make a stealth check.
23.
You feel like you've concealed yourself well. Cassette and Claire, you're up next.
I'm just gonna get a little closer, I guess. Is this U-shaped rock thing? Is that like cover or?
It's really a sort of a small cluster of rocks. Approximately the highest point about 2.5, 3 feet again.
And who's the good guys here? The elks or the zombies? Did the elks look?
Make an insight check. Make a religion check too.
Down with the elk.
Those elk may look real shit.
8 on religion.
So you are a paladin of Eldath, yes? Eldath is also known as the Green Goddess, or Mother Guardian of Groves. Considered among favored animals are stags. You feel
Oh, really? I would know that.
strongly inclined to fight on the side of the elk.
I'm pretty relieved because you would have had an arrow in the back had you have attacked the elk. So this is why you rolled high enough.
I really don't know that dashing in there is a great idea. So I'm actually I think I'm going to move up. Now, this close, would I have disadvantage on a javelin throw? Like 20 feet?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess I'll do that.
Okay. On whom?
Just the closest skeleton to me, the regular one. The one that's about...
Is this where you skewer an elk by mistake?
So,
I hope
I
not.
mean, well, he's going at a zombie that he thinks is a skeleton, so it's a little disconcerting. But
it's a
fine.
bad
Or,
start.
that's fine, I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Okay, at disadvantage...
Absolutely hits. Oh,
ooh,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. 10
A
pierce.
solid hit. As you step up from next to the rocks, you hurl the javelin, and it literally goes all the way through the zombie. It's going to be difficult to retrieve that one, but you can probably get it. It's literally like right through the torso, sideways. This zombie would not be able to walk through a standard door at this point. It would be like one of those really depressing videos where a dog grabs a stick that's too big to go through and it just keeps trying to walk through. That's how it would be.
Depressing or great videos?
I mean, you know.
I find a lot of joy in those.
Yeah.
Okay, Claire, what you got?
All right. She is gonna go shuffling up here between the trees. And as she's running by Silverius and Bardor, she's just gonna kind of hiss at them. Maybe next time we take 5 seconds to make a plan. And she is going to cast.
While you're pulling up your sheet, we should really try not to use the colors to reference the things as well.
Just do both. Reference
But if
the
we-
location and color.
Okay.
All
Because
right.
if we start saying I'm going to shoot the pink zombie, that's going to make weird audio.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Well, that's what color they're wearing.
So right here beside the zombie clad in purple
Purple jumpsuit?
jumpsuit, of course, Claire's spiffy little unicorn hammer is gonna appear
Yep.
and try to hit him for an 8.
8 hits.
Wow. Okay.
Jumpsuit does not offer much protection.
So purple takes 4 damage. So with one hand she like shoots out the hammer, and then she holds out the other hand and at the zombie in the pretty pink dress,
Mhm.
she will cast a firebolt cantrip at him for 19
19 absolutely hits.
and 10 fire damage.
Okay. Yeah, that zombie is looking very rough now. It's sort of swaying a little in the breeze. Silverius.
Varus is going to move forward the maximum distance he can. Take his sword, plant it in the ground, and shoot a ray of frost. Sorry.
Take your shot.
Or do I get a regular roll with my lit sword in the ground?
Yes, because your sword is still lit up. You do.
Okay.
You have a regular shot now.
6 to hit.
Roll me a d4, because that's a nat 1 on the die.
Oh. 1.
Roll me another d20.
Where is this going? 16.
Okay. Reach out and aim your ray of frost, and it just so happens that the zombie you're aiming for, as it's trying to sort of pat out some of the flames, just ducks at an inopportune moment, and your ray shoots right over it and cracks the lands right on the shoulder of the purple zombie, dealing the full 4 cold damage to the purple zombie instead. Funny old world, isn't it? Bardur.
First round of combat, it's right or ambusher.
Mhm.
I can move all the way over here. And I am going to take a shot at the skeleton minotaur.
Okay.
Right.
You are considered invisible to it right now.
Oh, that's excellent.
Oh, boy.
28. So that's so I guess that was a natural 20.
Yep.
Then I did what was that 16 damage on
16 base damage, yep.
that? Yeah.
Plus
And then
another d8 for the Zephyr Strike.
so 11.
Yeah, so that's 27 so far.
Okay. And then would I roll another
You would roll another attack at advantage, because you are still invisible.
14
14 does hit.
and 4 damage.
Anything else, or are you done destroying the battlefield?
I think so, because yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay. The undead take their turn. The skeletons are all targeting the elk with red antlers. Only one arrow seems to find its mark. Then you see the Minotaur skeleton reach up with its great axe and swing down at the elk with blue antlers. You rolled a 2. And the zombies haven't actually noticed anyone yet. really slow. But they did. One of them did strike out at the elk with green antlers, dealing a small amount of damage there. Elk strike back. The skeleton furthest away from you looks like he just gets obliterated actually by the elk. The Minotaur skeleton, he also takes a significant chunk of damage as the elk reaches forwards and charges into him. Eska, we're back to you. So just to give you a brief rundown of how everything's looking quickly. So the skeletons with bows at the back have been untouched so far. The Minotaur skeleton is looking a little crumbly, especially after being bludgeoned quite severely there by the elk. The two zombies are both looking kind of beat up as well. One of the elk has taken damage, but doesn't seem too bad off right now.
Kind of keeping a gentle eye out and seeing the Minotaur looks like the biggest threat. So she's just gonna lean out from her hiding place, loose her arrow at it.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a 26.
Misses. Just kidding. Damage.
And then it's gonna be 10 damage of the piercing variety.
Okay. Arrow comes in and manages to knock out the sheer force of it knocks out some of the ribs, and it's looking like it's barely being held together at this stage.
And I know I can't hide, but she sort of rolls back around the back of the stump, and that's me done.
All right, Cassette and Claire.
Before I get there, I'm going to move up to right next to that zombie that is wearing a dress and now has been burned and has a javelin through it. But before
so
I
it's
get
kind
there,
of looking like, I guess, Carol Burnett with the curtain rod through the shoulders.
yeah,
Pink and smoldering.
that's a good mental image. Yeah, but with rotting flesh and stuff. Yeah. And but before I get there in melee, I'm gonna throw a javelin kind of as I'm stepping forward. I'm gonna try to aim at the big skeleton dude. Oh, good. 26. 7 piercing damage.
It lodges into the femur and dislodges the femur. This giant Minotaur skeleton is currently standing on one leg. It is in bad shape, but it is still standing. Claire.
All right. Claire is gonna move up here beside Silverius, and in a repeat of last round, she is going to cast a firebolt at pink-clad zombie. Yeah, I'm thinking that was a natural one. I can't see the die.
Yes.
It's not visible on my screen, but yes.
No, mine either, but it shows red.
Yeah.
Roll me a d20 again.
12.
And that's me right between her and the zombie, just to clarify.
And what is your modifiers +5, correct?
Yes. The
Okay,
damage.
so that would be 17. Cassette, what's your AC without a shield?
Did I mention that when I throw the javelin, like my shield, I generally put it on my back? It's a 16 without the shield.
So you charge forward and hurl your javelin. Unfortunately, literally as you're doing that, Claire rushes out. Since you two are going simultaneously, and you happen to walk right in front of this firebolt, which catches you flush between the shoulder blades, and unfortunately impacts you for 9 fire damage.
Oh my god.
Ouch. So this is one turn after she yelled at us that we didn't have a plan?
Yes. See?
Just to clarify,
You get.
this is 6 seconds, and she said...
Yes, 6 seconds. Correct. You still have a bonus action if you wish to hit Cosette in the face.
No. Fun little unicorn hammer is gonna float over to the Minotaur and try to take a whack at him. I'm hoping at 18.
18 does indeed hit.
All right, 7 damage.
And with that, the fun little unicorn hammer deals a significant blow. Funnily enough, also between the shoulder blades, the unnatural dark energy that holds this skeleton together is broken, and bones scatter. The giant axe falls to the ground, and the bones go still.
Hey Phil, did I see Claire napalming Cosette by any chance?
It kind of lit everything up since the light's still kind of dark. Yeah, it was very easy to see.
Okay.
Plus, I imagine there was probably a yelp.
Okay.
Cassette, can you confirm? Yelp? No yelp?
Yeah, I guess yelp's a good way to describe it.
And we're probably not talking full-on Wilhelm scream here. But... it's just such a good scream. Alright, so Varius.
After the firebolt plows into Cosette, he just kind of look at Claire,
What are you doing?
shakes his head. It's gonna run around to the side. He'll leave his sword stuck in the ground over there, and he's gonna run out there. And when he gets there, he's gonna like stop and clasp his hand like in a jolting punching motion and cast Thunderclap.
Con save on the zombies.
Yes, it needs to beat 13.
Anyone else impacted, or just them?
Just those two.
Wow, 15 and a 21.
Okay, they both passed. Nothing.
Oh, okay. There is a very loud burst of sound. Silverius claps his fist into his palm, and everything kind of stops for a second and stares at him. The elk look terrified. The skeletons look like they have a new target. Bardur, you're up and you're still invisible to everything.
Okay.
Including most of your allies, actually.
I'm just gonna take a regular shot. I have no more fancy tricks.
You're still at advantage.
26.
Definitely
with,
hits.
6 damage.
There's like a scrap of armor that looks like it may have once been a breastplate or something. And it's clearly gone punctured right through that and goes into the skeleton itself. Seems to take a healthy amount of damage there. What can be seen is Silvarius. Skeletons line up 3 shots with bows. 17, a 9, and a 16 to hit.
All 3 miss.
Okay. The 9 just shoots far wide. The 17 and 16 actually, the 16 deflects off the shield. The 17 wedges itself in your shield. The zombies aren't very bright, and they keep swinging at the elk that's in front of them. The one that looks like it's slightly green.
I'm going to use to just kind of use my fighting style protection to kind of put my shield out there to try to give disadvantage.
12 to hit, which does not hit an elk. The other one rolled a 21 and an 8. The 21 would have hit, but does not. The 8 misses. The zombies are just sort of flailing around a bit uselessly at the moment. I mean, the skeletons aren't faring much better, let's be honest. Time for the elk to strike back. Bows its head. Gallops forward at the slightly bluish-looking skeleton in front of it. There's no way the skeleton walks out.
Maybe bits of skeleton, bits of ribcage hanging off his horns, maybe.
Yeah, well, and there's just bone meal that just scatters out in front of it as well. The other 2 swing at one at purple, one at pink of the zombies. Both hit. The purple zombie takes another blow, and it's looking a little shabby. The pinkish zombie looks like it should take enough to drop it. As it's about to topple over, dark energy within it shifts it, and it manages to catch itself and stand back up. Apparently the zombie's feeling a little hardy today. Eska, it's your turn.
So Eska is going to dash around
Okay.
behind, sort of skirt around behind everybody and
Yeah.
end up behind Silvarius on the main path, and is just going to try and distract the skeletons. She sort of does some little yip yips to try and draw their attention.
I see.
And is going to take the dodge action. She's going to try and look like she's going to shoot them, but she's just going to kind of ready herself in case they shoot her.
To
I
indicate
feel like
your
I should
expeditious
rename
retreat.
it from Expeditious Retreat to Expeditious, like, whatever the opposite of retreat is, Expeditious Charge, because I usually use it to go forwards.
You could call it Escadicious.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'll workshop it.
Cassette and Claire, what you got?
Napalm, napalm, napalm.
I'm sorry. Which one of the zombies got
Yeah.
back up? The pink one.
The one right in front of you.
I'll smash that
Alright.
one again. As I reach down to grab my flail, I'll kind of check to just kind of turn my head to see how much of my hair got singed.
Roll a perception check.
I wasn't expecting to roll that.
You rolled a performance check as well.
That's the hair
Picked
whip.
the wrong one. But then it rolled both. I didn't know what happened.
It's not what you can see so much as what you can smell that lets you know that you are slightly more follically challenged than you were 12 seconds ago.
Witches stealing my hair. I got people burning my hair.
Is it still on fire, or has it gone out?
Yeah, I don't have many bonus
No active
actions.
flames.
Is there any way I could...
No active. Yeah, you're fine.
Your head's not on
Alright.
fire.
Oh no!
This is your chance to get revenge against
Turn
Claire.
around.
This is
Guys, it's been a while since we played. It's taking a little bit.
I mean, we
Back
just
into
woke
it.
up like
Roll
10
me a
seconds
D4.
ago.
Was this the uppercut?
No, I didn't. I would have called.
Okay. So you kind of go for a wide swing, looking to impale the zombie in the chest, kind of a nice wide arc. Unfortunately, you catch the elk on the shoulder. Make another attack roll, please.
So it's an 8 total, but another natural. My conscience just wouldn't let me hit.
Not
So-
hard, at least.
It looks like you're about to hit the elk, and then you just your mind just slips to the thoughts about your hair. The flail just slips completely from your hand, ends up on the other side of the elk.
You know what? Since my flail is over there, and it involves getting it out of the way of Claire, I'm actually gonna move.
Okay, the zombie's going to take a swing at you. Oh my goodness, the zombie was effective. So as you try to sneak away, the zombie just like reaches out and scratches at you and pounds you on the shoulder, rolling a natural 20 to hit, dealing a total of 9 bludgeoning damage. I'm going to be honest, I didn't expect it to hit just because they've been doing so poorly.
So let me get this straight. I turned the back to the zombie and ran away, and then it hit me in the back too.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
As Cassette runs away, Claire just kind of calls after her. Sorry, I'll fix it.
Is this before or after I get clawed by the zombie?
After. She'll fix everything. But she's going to try, one more time. She's going to try to hit the pink dress zombie with her firebolt for 15.
15 hits.
4 damage.
And you see fire consume this zombie, and as the fire dies down, it's still standing somehow. You feel like that really should have taken it down, but it just didn't want to go.
The hammer is going to float over to the purple jumpsuit zombie for a 21
And that's, yeah, definitely a hit.
and 10 force damage.
And force damage. The unicorn comes down and just absolutely hammers down on this zombie. You're kind of mystified. Once more, you feel like this should be a finishing blow. The force that's holding these zombies together, that's powering them, is still there's this residual energy in them that is keeping them together. As bits sort of fall off, they're still fighting. It should have gone down, but it did not. Silverius.
With his hands stretched out, he's gonna attempt another thunderclap.
The vibrations as the thunder rings through the forest again. The intensity of the thunder seems to finally shake apart the pink zombie. It finally collapses.
With the crumbling of that one, Silvaris is just... I'm going to use my action surge, and with his hand still stretched out, he's going to thrust it forward at the purple one, trying to finish it off, and lightning's going to burst from his fingertips with a shocking grasp.
Don't think we've ever seen that from Silverius, have we?
Ah, new tricks.
Exciting.
9 to hit.
9 hits.
Ooh, 6 lightning damage.
Okay, lightning racks the body of this zombie, and you feel that power coursing through your hand, and it runs up the length of the zombie, and huge parts of flesh just sort of fall away from the bones. And you feel it start to go limp, and then it forces its way back up to a vaguely upright position.
You just won't go down, will you?
Badur.
I'm going to shoot at the one that's closest to me. 14 with 9 damage.
Okay, yeah, 14 is enough. As the shot goes through, you see it. The arrow actually kind of knocks off its left arm. Like literally the whole arm just comes plumb out the socket. The bow drops to the ground. And you see it with its remaining hand draw a sword. The skeleton who just lost an arm is moving up to the elk and taking a swing, and does indeed do some damage. Elk's looking a little hurt, but the elk actually are looking pretty sturdy. You guys have, well, I mean, in fairness, they've been kind of useless. But you guys have done a good job of protecting them too. The other one is shooting at Eska, and because of disadvantage, rolls a 13.
That will not hit.
Would an 18 have hit?
Yeah.
Good thing you're dodging.
That's why I always dodge.
And the zombie has had enough of Silverius. It swings round and tries to lash out, and its arm falls out. It goes to like do this big sort of like overarm pour down at you, and as it swings it down, just the whole arm just vacates the body. You don't take damage, but the arm does hit you. It just sort of like splats against your armor. Okay, Eska, back to you.
She slings her bow and she's just going to try and pull out a dagger.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to try and throw it butt in first into the skeleton that's bothering the elk just north of her.
Okay. Make an attack roll first.
13 to hit.
13 hit. Roll a percentile die.
That is going to be 60, exactly.
Okay. So you throw it. So as you throw it, it still ends up blade first instead.
Regular damage then?
So yeah, just deal regular piercing damage.
It's going to be 8.
You throw it, and it kind of, you're like, oh, I'm not sure I've quite got that spin right. And as you're sort of finishing that thought, the point of the dagger goes into the eye socket of the skeleton, and just keeps spinning, and just plucks the head off, and just sort of tumbles away 5 feet. The rest of the skeleton falling.
I can't say she's emotionally ready to be happy yet, but there's a slight bit of satisfaction there somewhere.
That's fair. Cassette and Claire?
So with a very scrunched up face of frustration that the zombie in the purple jumpsuit will not go down, Claire holds out her hand and potentially a large beam of light comes out of her hand. Purple jumpsuit needs to make a dex save.
What's the DC?
13.
It actually rolled a 13.
Oh,
It was a 15 minus 2. So the fire comes down, and it looks like it's going to consume the zombie, but somehow he evades it.
Is this the final boss, Phil?
well, following up with her 1-2 punch, the hammer is gonna try to swing down again at him for a 19 to hit
Yep, hits.
and only 4 force damage.
Makes an impact, but once again, the zombie stands tall.
She just kind of lets out like a wordless like yell of frustration.
Okay, I'll pick up the flail. I'm gonna attack.
Yeah, no, it's a solid hit to the lower back of the zombie, and a huge portion of skin falls off as the flail impact. Zombie stands.
Oh my god!
What is left of this zombie now? Because I feel like a lot of stuff has fallen off.
It's lost an
We
arm,
can change his icon to a skeleton soon.
and it has lost vast quantities of flesh, but it is still standing.
Okay.
Silvarius.
There's a bit of frustration at this, and Silvarius is actually gonna try to like haymaker the zombie with his hands.
Okay.
He doesn't even feel like it's a threat anymore. He's just aggravated with it.
So you can do 2 swings. Second one will not get your strength modifier added.
1 natural 20. 2
that'll
damage
be-
plus my modifier.
Yeah, so 5 on the first. So you go with a big sort of like right hand wild haymaker swing, and then follow that up with like a little uppercut. And it's odd. You feel like the uppercut should have hit something, and you realize that the reason it should have hit something is because there should have been the head there. However, the right hook just took the head clean off. Finally rolled a 1 on my con save. Zombie is no mas. I love that it was a punch. You guys have hit it with lightning. You tried to zap it with sacred magic, with firebolt, with and then just like just need a punch in the head.
And he's gonna angrily walk over, yank his sword out of the ground, and start walking towards them with like that angry march, like.
Butter.
Take a shot with my long. 26 with 7.
Yep. Does every bit of damage you'd expect it to. The skeleton is going to shoot back at you.
Okay.
15 to hit.
Yeah, that's my armor class, so I guess.
Okay. So it shoots back with its short bow, and it doesn't lodge in even. It just like skims across your arm, leaving a sort of like a 3-inch cut there. It does 6 piercing damage. Red elk bows its head again, barrels forwards. Red elk misses. Okay. Well, the second elk also missed. The third elk, however, comes in with an 18 to hit. And so it will deal on a charge. So 20 doubled, because it's bludgeoning, 40 damage.
Great.
And just obliterates the final skeleton. There's a brief pause as the skeleton falls. And you sort of look around and realize that it's finally over. The sun has risen a little more now. It's still very early in the day. The elk sort of paw a little at the ground where the final skeleton fell. They neither run from you nor look scared of you. you would say. They're more focused on what was attacking them at the moment. Eventually, they do turn. Look at you. What would you like to do?
Do they seem normal, like normal elk?
Make a nature check.
It's going to be an 8.
Kind of look like elk. They're really big elk. You're not sure you've seen an elk quite that large before.
Is there any remnants on the ground of the zombies?
Most of what was there has sort of turned into this awful, blobby mess. There are bones there, but
If the elk don't look threatening, I'm just going to kind of back off and look for arrows. And I'm going to see if I can even maybe use some of the ones the undead got. So,
Claire is actually going to walk up slowly and non-threateningly up beside Silverius, look at the elk, and in Sylvan ask, "Can you understand me?"
make an animal handling check.
That would be a 19.
The red elk, as we've been calling him, tilts his head and nods slightly. Does anyone else speak Sylvan?
I do not, but I was curious, is it recognizable?
Make an intelligence check. Everybody who's curious to know if they know what the language is.
I thought I
kind
did
of-
for a minute, but I don't.
Yeah, I did wonder if you might.
14.
Yeah.
You know it's not Elvish, but it's feels related.
Claire will just approach just a little closer after the nod. "Thank you kindly for sticking around and helping with that. Are any of you gravely wounded?
Kind of glances briefly at the other two and then shakes his head.
Can I ask a question of you?
Just sort of stares at you, waiting.
The zombies seemed to have energy that was keeping them up when they shouldn't have. Do you by chance know of anything dark that's been in these woods? Something that's been harassing the local wildlife?"
As you say that, you see it kind of grow irritable and it like paws at the ground angrily, and then gestures towards the direction you came from.
"Do you mean the temple?"
A soft nod.
Well, hopefully that won't be causing too much irritation anymore. We did hopefully eliminate the darkness that was in its depths. Is that the only thing in the forest?
You see it's hard to tell because you've not done a lot of face-to-face with elk before. But the closest thing that you can compare it to is a smirk that appears on the elk's face. Well, it looks like it starts to speak, but it is a very guttural series of grunts and clicks that you don't understand. You know, it doesn't look threatening. It just looks like it's trying to explain something to you.
"I'm sorry. I don't think I can understand you."
I'm going to cast Primeval Awareness.
Okay, so first level spell slot.
Yep.
So for the next minute, you know whether there are aberrations, celestials, dragons, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead within 1 mile of you. No aberrations, no elementals, no celestials. Dragons is a yes. Fae is a yes. Fiend is a yes. Undead is a no at the moment.
I'll speak up and say, well, we've cleaned out the undead, it seems.
Claire will turn, after Bardor says that, Claire will turn back to the elk and say, "My friend says that the undead are gone."
He kind of nods his approval. You notice when Bardor says the undead are gone, they look happy before you say anything in Sylvan.
So then in common, she'll just ask, "So you do understand common?"
He nods again.
And she'll just kind of smile at the elk and, "Is there anything we can do for you?"
He starts to kind of shake his head, and then the blue one, which now that things have kind of calmed down, you have a chance to look, you see looks younger. Possibly you could have a family group here. parents and a young male, and he kind of like nudges and again speaks something in that weird kind of like low gravelly language question mark. The red one turns and sort of nods, and then turns back to you, kind of like gestures for you to follow.
Clara will look back at the group. I think he wants us to follow him.
I am intrigued.
Sylvaris
Yeah,
will
I'll
follow
move
when they
up.
start to.
I follow.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Likewise.
when Cassette gets next to Claire, she's gonna reach out and place her hand on her shoulder and cast Cure Wounds. I'm really sorry
Ooh,
about
yeah.
earlier.
It's a nice chunk of healing off of a first level spell right there. 11 points back. Gosh. The elk sort of turn and lead back up this path, and you realize it's not like a man-made path. This looks like it is a path cleared by natural traffic, as it were. The young blue elk actually comes and sort of like gives you a little nuzzle, Claire, as you start traveling.
As they're walking, she'll kind of like fist her hands into the fur around his neck and kind of give him a scratch.
This is very much appreciated. They lead into the woods. So we're going slightly deeper here. And they lead you for 5, then 10 minutes. And you start to hear the sound of a gently running stream. It takes a little while, but it slowly gets a little louder. And there appears to be a place to rest. And the deer go up and drink from the water. And as they do, you notice that their wounds start to heal over a little. They seem to encourage you to go to the water.
Okay. I guess I will splash my face into it and go.
Okay. As you drink, you gain 2 temporary hit points. You feel very peaceful. You feel refreshed.
Is there any indication that any large reptilian creatures have been
Make a perception check.
While she's doing that,
Could-
Claire will also approach the water.
Could Sylvaris also be on the lookout?
Yeah. Perception or survival for either of you.
6 for perception.
6 for staring at the same spot as
No,
We're both still a bit freaked out by the previous evening.
no obvious signs of large dragon activity here. Claire, were you drinking?
Yeah, she'll just kind of cup her hands into the water and bring
Okay.
it to her lips.
You also gain 2 temporary hit points.
I'll do the same after.
following up at the tail end of that. So is Sylvaris. And then kneel down and double cup his hands and
Okay. Cassette, you also gain 2. Sylvaris, you gain 4 temporary hit. Whoa.
and feeling
Was he like chugging it or something?
it's a big gulp, 64 ounce.
He doesn't do anything in small measures. Although I think possibly for the first time ever he showed restraint today. So,
By getting angry and punching his.
by not taking the fight on his own in the first place.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't even think we needed. I think the elk had it, honestly.
I mean, but also think about that the most intimidating figure on that battlefield was the Minotaur, and it went down way before anything else.
Yeah.
I still think that the purple zombie was the most intimidating.
He was just frustrating. He wasn't intimidating. He was just annoying.
You know those what are those punching things called? The ones you hit and knock over and come back up.
Oh, Weeble Wobbles.
That was a
I'm just scared to fight one of the Minotaurs that doesn't have a fill roll.
Oh god.
Yeah.
After Sylvaris takes his drink of the water, he's gonna mention to him after they can understand common.
These woods, what do you know of the dragon here?
And when he says dragon, Claire looks up and goes, "Dragon?"
Yes,
The response is probably what could best be described as a shrug. You've not seen it in a quadruped like this before. Kind of catches you off guard a little.
Well, and I'll say with like water dripping down through my beard and everything. What about the fiend?
At that, the elk shudders a little. It actually sort of like takes a step back,
Do you know where it's at?
shakes its head, and kind of starts looking around a little frantically.
Following up on the fiend question,
is the fiend in these woods or further out?
It kind of nods when you say in these woods.
and he's gonna look back to the party.
Is this something we wish to endeavor against currently?
And he looks over to Claire.
My apologies for updating you a bit later.
And he kind of stares out into the woods while he's talking.
We were visited last night, Eska and I. I still can see it in my eyes. The dragon reached his head from the woods, gazed upon us, and simply left.
You actually saw the dragon that I sensed earlier?
One can assume if the quantity of dragons is discernible or not. We definitely gazed upon one. Yet, I feel, given the reaction of the elk here and the encounter last night, it is not a wrathful sort. Does not mean we should not stay on our guard. However, we still stand here, which is sign enough. The fiend, however, presents an obvious problem and could be related to other occurrences.
If we go further into the woods, we need to go back and get our stuff. I left my traveling gear back in the tour. Have I had any experience fighting any fiends, Phil?
You may have run across one or two very low-level fiends. They do occasionally creep out, and of course you have no idea, what kind of thing is being pinged here on your radar. It could it could be one little dretch, or it could be 1,000 Valors. You just don't know.
Yeah, I'll say, well, I don't know the quantity or quality of the fiend or fiends that are out there, so going after it without any sort of information probably isn't wise.
Feels as if we are stepping outside of our realm of knowledge.
Does anyone here know anything about fiends?
I think Savaris have a typical knowledge of fiends, but nothing extravagant.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
They're fiendish.
Claire, you'd probably be about as knowledgeable as anyone as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of your background. Actually, Cassette probably too. I mean, they are obviously very much sort of like the antithesis of what you guys are fighting for. Everyone make a perception check for me, or survival.
6 Savaris.
8,
Man, we're knocking it out.
right?
Man!
Mm, 16.
Let's go. Thank God.
She finally woke up.
I got a 0. Where am I?
Cosette passed out.
Too much water.
Cassette's too concerned about her hair.
It's all uneven in the back now. It's just not a good.
Incidentally, Cassette. I'm assuming Cassette also drank?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. 4 temp hit points for Cassette. Cassette's kind of drinking it in and kind of washing her hair and trying to see what's going on. Eska, you're on high alert at the moment. And
Have I rolled a d20 since? Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. I thought that might have been 3 natural ones in a row, but I think there was a normal roll in between there. Still not.
Out of the corner of your eye, you see there's just a glint. And you turn, and sitting in a tree 25 feet up, you spot an elf just
An elf.
sitting calmly watching you. You would know this is a female elf, a high elf. She is looking very relaxed. Like I said, about 25 feet up, just sort of like resting against the trunk of the tree, watching.
She, that's enough to kind of snap her out of her reverie, and she just kind of tilts her head towards the elf and says in elf, "Hello, friend."
She smiles. Says, hello. Gracefully rolls off branch, sort of skitters down the tree to land effortlessly on the ground.
Does she look kind of wild, or does she look kind of civilized, like garb-wise?
Very civilized. She is wearing what to you looks like some sort of elven chainmail, maybe a slightly golden hue to the armor, and that's what caught your eye, was the glint off the armor. A cloak, also sort of yellowish. She seems generally to be well, not immediately threatening. No weapons drawn.
Is there any way to gauge age somewhat?
Quite old. Okay, yeah, hundreds of years old.
Okay.
It gets very hard to age elves once they reach a certain point, but she appears to wear it well regardless.
Are we intruding?
No, this is not my stream.
Are you not from around here?
No, I'm just passing through. I came to pay my
Likewise.
respect.
Pay your respects?
Yes, to the court.
Was that the court?
Yes.
We are from very far away. Which court?
The court of Buffin. I would assume that was why you were so far into the woods. I understand you're not from here either, but...
We saw these elk were in a spot of bother from some should have been dead intruders, and sort of ran in to help without really thinking it through, truth be told.
I remember those days myself.
My name is Eska, by the way.
Kindreth.
I probably have switched to common. And so I will sort of turn and ask the rest of the group. The Court of Bofin? Have any of you heard of that? Badr?
I would say, if I had to guess, that's the Fae that I...
Indeed,
The
Master
other
Dwarf.
one.
Yes. It is a Fae court, yeah. Led by Olwen. He is an emissary of Titania here in the prime material plane.
Eska's kind of brightened up a little bit and says, I can't speak for the rest of the group, but I would very much wish to pay my respects also.
I would be happy to lead you there if you do not know the way.
Eska kind of glances back to the others hopefully.
Claire has her hands clasped in front of her and is nodding enthusiastically.
I wasn't sure if that
I
was
am-
Claire's nervous face or not.
I am suspicious as all get out. Because this is walking into super elf territory. And despite my best poker face, I'm gonna assume that some of that might be showing through.
Make a deception check.
10.
Yeah, you think it might be showing.
But
Before...
you have shown us some of the society of the dwarfs. Perhaps this is a chance to show you a little of the more fey elven side of life.
There's just like some grumbling.
Does Cassette look okay with this?
I would assume with that perception check, she's just now realizing something.
Yeah. Yeah, you look
Um,
up and you see this beautiful elf standing before you.
She doesn't really do much. She's still kind of kneeling down by the water, not really giving a hint.
She steps over to the elk. They seem to exchange some sort of conversation. It's very quiet. You can't really hear it. When she turns around, she says, "Well, it looks like we'll have company." The elk also wish to pay their respect.
I am loath to split up, but if any of you feel truly uncomfortable, I suppose we could part for a while, but I would much rather stick close in these unknown parts with dangers seemingly lurking.
Hey Phil, does any of this stuff sound familiar from like my the other world, like being from Dilzimmer?
You have not heard of the Court of Bothan? Fairy tales about the woods, but nothing more than that.
Well, I'm gonna say like with a bit of a nervous edge. I'm gonna be unusually candid and say that I would normally not want to do this. However, considering the weird stuff that's been happening, I agree with Eska. We should probably stick together.
I agree. I generally would be a little more cautious, but seem to be a lot of dangers, and if we have a chance to meet somebody who could be a friend or an ally, I think that might be a good thing.
Master Dragonborn?
He nods his head.
I am keen to follow.
Excellent.
Should we grab our stuff?
Oh, it's not a long journey. Don't worry. We'll be there in about half an hour. The day is young.
Does the tone sound completely casual, or is there's no trickery kind of in it? Is there?
Give me an insight.
Can I get to the two?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm sure I read elves real well.
You
20.
do. 18.
Both of you obviously rolled very high. She is a tough nut to crack. Aside from your own sort of like innate prejudice, especially for Bardoor, nothing about what she's saying or doing is actually making you feel like something is amiss. The eyes do not seem to be hiding any malice. As trustworthy an elf as you've encountered, which I know for Bardoor may not be saying much, but...
In light of the previous day's events, perhaps something can be learned through this visit.
Well, shall I lead the way?
Please.
She gracefully walks over and gives the young elk a little playful scratch behind the ear, and then heads off down a less well-worn path, but nevertheless what appears to be a path from here, deeper into the woods. Half an hour or so passes.
Probably during that half an hour,
Mhm.
Eska's unusually at the front of the marching order, and probably just asking questions such as, where she hails from, what brought her this way. Just curious questions.
Yeah.
Like if she ever seems irritated by them, she would stop. But if not, her curiosity kind of takes over.
Yeah. There's no sort of like annoyance factor from Kindred. She explains that actually she's been sort of on something of a pilgrimage of late, visiting various courts, Fey court, across Faerun. This was just happened to be the next one on her list. She's from the other side of Faerun, though she's a little bit hesitant to give an exact location. Gives her sort of like, over towards Waterdeep. But
That's pretty much the kind of description
yeah,
Eska would give of her own place, so she doesn't find that.
yeah, it's a little
problematic.
vague. Spoken to several of the leaders of court over the past few months, who have spoken of a rise in the shadows in the forest, is what they spoke of. There was no specific indication of what those shadows were at any point. Just it's almost like the Fae have, because they are so sort of like innately connected to their woods, they know when something is amiss. And it's almost like the shadows are darker, more menacing than they used to be. This is something she's heard multiple different times, not having herself yet had any evidence to support that.
Eska would kind of turn back towards the group and say, comment how maybe there's some advantage in finding out what this fiendish presence is.
If something is amiss with the forest, then the court is where you will find your answer.
We find ourselves in a strange situation. When I said we are from a faraway place, that is half true, and I couldn't say half a lie, but something happened to us. It was as if we've been transferred to another version of our own world where things are similar, strange. We're trying to find answers of our own.
Sounds like very dark and powerful magic.
Yes, we don't even know to what end. It's good to meet some friendly faces such as yourself here.
I shall ponder this.
You, I don't know how much you've sort of stayed in the area, but the island just out Drakesburg.
Yes, I know of it.
Yes, we did not until we found ourselves here. That did not exist.
How curious.
It's quite a shift.
I can't say I ever have not known it to be there, but maybe there will be other answers that the court can provide. If not, at least maybe they can offer something for you. We are nearly there.
Can I ask how loud their conversation was?
I mean, she seems fairly soft-spoken, but you probably would have been able to hear, unless you're really tramping through the woods.
Oh,
Savaris isn't very quiet, so he might have been pretty loud.
So you probably
Yeah.
will have picked up bits and pieces here and there. You may not have got every word.
yeah. I wasn't trying to whisper, but I'm also softly spoken, so it would be low but audible. I wasn't trying to hide anything.
Whilst we were marching our march through the woods, can Savaris have been looking around for more possible signs of previously described large lizard?
Certainly. You can make another survival.
That's 8. Nope.
Are you doing this sort of very openly, or
Oh yeah, he's.
Yeah?
I imagine I'd be.
Okay.
Just looking around for, not trying to hide anything. He's obviously looking for something.
Yeah. She would probably spot that at some point and say, "Are you looking for something?"
Yes.
I see. Anything in particular?
Yes.
I see.
Eska kind of leans over and says, "This is how most of our conversations."
And do you know why he's so on edge?
I had almost managed to forget, but we spotted. She kind of has to build up. We spotted what seemed to be a dragon,
I see.
and truth be told, we were not ready for this.
And when was this?
Possibly an hour or two after midnight.
And this was in the woods?
Yes.
And your friend thinks he will find one by spinning around in circles looking for one?
It hasn't worked yet, but he's a very persistent
I see.
fellow. Perhaps he feels some camaraderie. I do not understand their kind, so I cannot say, but I suppose my feelings, happiness meeting you, I could see how there would be a...
You don't understand dragons, you say. Do you not like dragons? Or do you just want to stay a safe distance from them?
I have only had negative experience with dragons, so I do prefer to keep my distance.
That is unfortunate. I have had dealings with their kind, and for the most part, not all unfortunately, but for the most part, they are good and noble folk. Hope one day you find one who is less, well, who has a more positive influence on you, perhaps.
Claire is gonna walk beside the younger elk again
Yeah.
as they're going along, and while they're walking, she's gonna pluck grass every few steps and twinkle her fingers over it and make it taste like either apples or carrots or sugar, and just constantly keep giving him little treats.
Oh yeah. No, he is. He's going to town with that. You have a friend for life. There comes a moment, and she pauses and she says, "Right, we are here. For the most part, common is the spoken language here, although they do also speak Sylvan. Most of them, not all. I would encourage you to just speak your truth here. This is not a place for trying to hide yourself. Shall we?" She leads you through a gap in the trees to a clearing. And as you come through the clearing, it appears word of your arrival had spread, because there is a semicircle of creatures waiting for you as you arrive. Kindreth walks forward ahead of the group a little. There's chatter that's happening between the various different groups here, but they stop as they see Kindreth approach. "Good day, Olwyn. It is an honor to be back in your court." "Well met, Kindreth. It's good to see you again." And the voice is coming from a glorious, radiant unicorn in front of you. Along with the unicorn, standing in a semicircle in front of you, you have a stone giant, a treant, what appears to be a drow in shackles, a satyr, a goblin riding a warg, 2 dryads, 2 centaurs, a wood elf, and a high elf. This cluster of creatures. "And tell me, who have you brought with you this day?" You think he was talking to you, but instead the elk stepped forward, Well, two of them do. One of them still kind of nuzzling up against Claire. And they bow. And again, they speak in this strange guttural tone. And he nods. And responds in their same language.
While they're conversing,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, Silvarius cast comprehend languages because the elk have talked a lot. And
A couple of people notice you start to cast a spell. Olwen kind of gives them a look as you do it. And no one does anything to stop you. And you kind of pick up the conversation halfway through. The elk are explaining. You understand that the language they're speaking is literally the language of elk. And apparently Olwen is learned in the ways of this language as well. They're saying that they were set upon by this group of undead, some of the necromancer's experiments. Your group helped save them from the assault of the undead, specifically making mention of the fact that you focused a lot of energy on trying to bring down what seemed to be the largest threat to the elk, which was the Minotaur skeleton. Olwen kind of takes this in and thanks them for their report and asks them to wait. Claire, you would understand this as well as Silvarius. He looks over and says, I trust you can understand me now, Master Dragonborn.
nods his head.
You realize that he is speaking celestial to you. Words are wonderful, aren't they? And you realize that wasn't spoken at all. His mouth didn't move. That one just went straight into your brain. Back in common, he says, please, come. If Kindrith feels that you are worthy traveling companions, then you are welcome here in the court of Bofin. Step forward, please, and introduce yourself.
Eska's gonna do whatever she feels like is the most reverent thing in the situation. I don't know what that would be. Maybe a little bow.
Yeah, I think a little bow is probably sufficient deference in this scenario.
And she just says, my name is Eska.
Welcome.
It is an honor to be here.
Pleased to have you here.
She kind of looks around at the others.
Silvarius steps forward and puts one hand over his chest, kind of like bows down halfway. Kind of in respect.
I am Silvarius Korutrok.
And steps back.
Silvarius, well met.
Well met.
And looks back at the rest of the group.
Claire is essentially slack-jawed and starstruck.
I mean, because I don't introduce herself, but
Welcome, Cosette.
I'm gonna grab Claire by the arm and kind of push her forward.
She kind of stumbles kind of up beside Eska and kind of shakes her head and then bows at the waist deeply and just introduces herself.
Welcome, Claire. You can lie. You are safe here.
I'll walk up because I have to, and I'll kind of like sort of stiffly have my arms by my side and give like the most awkward looking bow, and say Bardor of Delzimmer.
Ah, yes. Bardor. Welcome.
He says, "Ah, yes." I feel like I want to figure out what the heck that means, but I don't know if I can insight check a unicorn.
Sure, you can try.
16.
You get the impression that maybe he's heard of you. In some way, shape, or form. Not necessarily anything bad, but...
Right, but it seemed like that he kind of knew who I was, or some form.
Yeah. You think he might know who you are.
Are we interrupting a meeting here?
No, we had gathered the court to discuss a number of things, but this is by no means an interruption. We were made aware that you were coming to meet us, so we
put our business aside for a moment, properly welcome you to the court.
Would it be impertinent to ask a question or two?
Of course not.
We heard, and certain members of us felt that there was some kind of dark presence within the woods, and our new friend informed us that you were already aware of this in some form.
Unfortunately so, yeah.
Do you know much about it?
A shadow is spreading from the underchasm, reaching out and polluting. We can feel it. We have not been able to locate it yet, but it is definitely evil.
We encountered a creature under the cliff, a little ways down at least. A strange, evil creature with tentacles where its face should be. Tried to lure us lower. Could there be some connection?
Silvarius also adds in,
Does the name the Purveyor mean anything?
The Purveyor. No. Unfortunately not. At least not to me. And he kind of looks around the members of his court. Lots of blank look. The stone giant sort of pauses for a moment and says, I may have heard of it. When I was dreamwalking, the name was whispered. I can search my dreams again to see if I can find it. Thank you, Areg. Troubling.
I fear, unfortunately, at some point we may have to descend and deal with this creature. It claimed knowledge of our own predicament, and thus far is the only clue we've come across as to what may have happened to us.
What happened to you? What do you mean?
We seem to have shifted realities to a land that is very much our own, but a set of circumstances which is new to us. It seemed to come about through some form of potent magical spell.
So you don't mean planar travel?
I am not versed in such things, but perhaps.
Well, that is certainly something we do know about. One of the primary duties of the court is to serve as wardens over a portal to the Feywild. Something else to ponder.
May I inquire the purpose of this gathering and your discussions?
Certainly, we have representatives here from the Seelie Court and Unseelie Court of the Feywild. There is a balance at the moment in the Feywild. The courts, while always to an extent plotting against one another, have reached something of a tenuous peace. However, that peace is threatened by this increasing shadow. We met to discuss the impact to ensure that no party was responsible for the shadow, and to see what else we could determine about its origin, its intent, anything really. The satyr, and he nods over, and you see a creature with furry legs, hooved feet, horns, and a very large glass of wine in his hands, assures us that the darkness is not the cause of the unseelie court. And at this point he's so drunk I don't think he would be able to lie. And the dryads to my left, Mistress and Zinnia, have assured me that they would never have anything to do with such darkness, and I have no issue believing them. We cannot abide this darkness in our woods. But far worse would be a darkness spreading throughout the land, using the woods as a conduit. First we must stop it here, but then we must get to the root.
And this spread of darkness, you say? Is there any indicator as to when it began?
Kindred speaks up and says, I have, on my travels, spoken to members of various courts, and I've heard about this for months. This slow increase of darkness. It's not a recent phenomenon by any stretch. It has been seeping gradually.
He gestures to Eska.
What she speaks of, this planar travel, planes shifting. Could there be a relation?
Perhaps. We would need to speak to those on the other side of the portal. Send someone back through and see if anything has changed on their side. It is entirely possible. Some changes can be very subtle.
Silvarius, he's looking over at the shackled drow.
And what of him?
Ah, yes. Troublesome fellow. He was captured trying to seek refuge here in the woods. We try to be as generous as we can, but we do not really care for his kind. Truth be told, forever speaking untruth, we have struggled to gain much information, unfortunately. However, I did say something about a cave system. Maybe you should have a word with our friend, our honored guest, when we are done talking.
He looks over to Eska. Just for a moment.
Yes, I may be able to convince him.
What is your intent, Eska? This is me, the DM, asking.
Hello, DM. It's me, Eska. Hang on.
If you were explain how you understood that conversation, like the interaction there with Silvarius, and your response.
My interpretation is that Silvarius is assuming I will mind dive, having done that earlier. That may or may not be what I intend to do.
You see, just out of the corner of your eye, you see a slight flinch on Kindra's face. It's just like this briefest moment of maybe unease, but
Okay.
it passes. I understand that you took care of the dark presence emanating from the temple on the hill.
Aye, that we did.
For that you have our gratitude. We would like to offer our appreciation. You see, he kind of focuses for a moment, and in the air in front of him, you see appear a small ring of metal, maybe copper. It's hard to see from over here, but you see something appear, and it just sort of hovers there. Mistis steps forward and takes it out of the air, and brings it forward to Eska. Holds it out.
Eska nods, sort of not entirely sure what it is, but with a look of gratitude, and grabs it.
And take a little look at it. Very nice polished copper, maybe brass. A thin band in the middle of the ring that has tiny, what appear to be engravings of creatures. Woodland creatures, for the most part. There's an elk, a badger, a boar. Take this and use it wisely, whether it is here in the woods or out in the world beyond. This is our gift to you.
Eska kind of like leans it down towards Claire and kind of shows her and says, "Look, that's beautiful. I thank you so much."
In your mind, you just hear him say, by you, I mean all of you. Choose wisely who you think it would be best suited for.
Certainly. And out loud she says, Is there anything else we can do for you? You have been so welcoming to us."
We can see into your heart, Eska. We know that you and your group have spoken truly to us, entered with respect. We appreciate your candor. Aside from searching for the source of the darkness, I do not believe there was anything else. And then the satyr speaks up and says, I think you had said something about the boars, the strangeness with the boars. Right, yes. Thank you, Hippolytos. Yes, there was some strange boar activity on the north end of the forest. Something amiss. I'm not quite sure what it was. We haven't had a chance to look into it ourselves, but should you find yourselves on the north side of the forest and are able to investigate and establish why there are reports of boars behaving peculiarly, we would be grateful.
Certainly. I do not know where our travels will take us, though I feel like there's much to be learned close by, so I imagine we will be traversing the area. I have one small favor to ask, perhaps. Would we be able to just stay a while and just join you? It is, I don't know. I feel more at ease here than I have since.
You are all welcome here. You may remain for as long as you wish now, and you will always be welcome back.
Eska gives another bow and looks around nervously and hopefully at the others.
There's a bow from Silvarius.
I'm staring daggers at the drow.
Kindred sort of walks off to the side and says, I think perhaps it is time I depart. Unfortunately, I cannot stay with you. I have other places to go. Owen, I trust you will understand the briefness of this visit. Unfortunately, now I must fly. And she turns. I was very happy to meet you all. I wish you luck in your endeavors, and pray our paths cross again.
Eska's actually gonna run up to her and is going to attempt to hug her.
The hug is reciprocated.
And she just whispers, "Thank you. I hope our paths do cross again."
Indeed. You may wish to step back a little.
She steps back in line.
Kindrith closes her eyes, and as you look, suddenly the elf is no more. And standing in front of you is an enormous gold dragon.
What?
And she looks down and says,
So Varius drops to a knee.
she just looks at you, Eska, specifically, and says, I told you we weren't all bad. And then, without waiting for a response, just massive flaps of those huge wings. She takes off and is up above the trees. And
I'm gonna do while she's flying away. I'm gonna do primeval awareness again to see if there are any more dragons.
how quickly do you do it?
I mean, as soon as I see her take off, I'm gonna kick it in pretty much.
Okay. So as you do it, as before, you get the same hits you had. Faye, obviously, looking in front of you, there's at least half a dozen different types of Fae creatures. You still get fiendish presence, and you do have, at the moment, a dragon presence. And then, just as your minute comes to an end, you feel that disappear.
She was the one, I whispered to everybody else.
Did the face look at all familiar? You said it was gold, right? The dragon itself?
Yeah. You think maybe? Yeah, maybe. Hard to tell, low light. Eska, you probably have a slightly better idea because you do have dark vision, although I think it was right at the edge of your dark vision.
Mm-hmm.
Could well have been.
Eska's just kind of looking at her hands, and then she kind of the sky, and she kind of looks at her hands again, puzzled expression.
And I think that might be where we call it for the night.
Whoa! Oof, indeed.
We're gonna finish every session with a dragon fell.
I mean, it was the same dragon, if that helped.
Maybe.
You think it was the same dragon, if that helps?
There are no more dragons within a mile.
That's
Okay,
just what a
fine.
dragon would want us to think.
Yeah.
Bardur is actually a dragon.
Well then, that was a thing that happened, wasn't it? Goodness me. Dragons everywhere. Not a drop to drink? No, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, thank you very much for listening / watching. If you enjoyed, please let us know. I believe that wherever you're watching this, you can leave some sort of review, either a comment in the comment section if you're on YouTube, or via the various podcast review systems. That would be muchly appreciated. It helps raise the visibility of our podcast and helps more people find it. Which we would like, because we would like more people to find it. Thank you. Bye-bye.